It slips through our fingers like sand, no matter how tightly we try to hold on. But what if, just for a moment, you could hold it still? What if you could turn back the hourglass and rewrite everything? That's the question at the heart of the Hourglass, a breathtaking fantasy romance series starring Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo, whose on-screen chemistry burns with intensity, pain, and longing. It's a story that bends time, twists destiny, and asks the deepest question of all. How far would you go to fix the moment you lost everything? The story begins on a rainy night in an old observatory perched high above a silent city. Lightning flashes against the glass dome, illuminating Xiao Zhan as Li Yun, a brilliant but emotionally scarred astrophysicist who once believed time could be controlled, until the accident that shattered his world. On his cluttered desk sits an ancient hourglass, its glass faintly glowing, the sand inside shifting in strange reverse spirals. It's the only thing left from the night his lover, Jin Hao, played by Wang Yibo, vanished without a trace. Li Yun has spent years searching for him, not in the streets but in the folds of time itself. Every tick of the clock, every rotation of the stars, he believes, hides a clue. And tonight, for the first time in years, the hourglass starts moving again, backward. The scene explodes into surreal beauty. Li Yun grabs the hourglass as the world around him distorts, the sound of rain reversing, lightning crackling upward into the clouds. Books float into the air as equations scrawl themselves across the walls in glowing light. The hourglass bursts open, and time itself fractures like glass. He falls, through scenes of memory and dreams, until he lands in a world he doesn't recognize. The city looks familiar yet wrong. The air feels thicker, colors dimmer. And there, standing by a bridge under flickering streetlights, is Jin Hao, alive, smiling, completely unaware of who Li Yun is. The first meeting is haunting. Li Yun stumbles toward him, whispering his name like a prayer. Jin Hao turns, confusion flashing across his face, then softening into concern. He's an artist in this timeline, sketching the city's fading skyline in a worn notebook. "Are you all right?" Jin Hao asks. Li Yun's eyes glisten with disbelief. He can't speak. His throat locks up, his heartbeat deafening. The one person he thought he'd lost forever is standing right before him, his voice echoing like a forgotten melody. But fate isn't kind. Li Yun soon realizes this version of Jin Hao doesn't know him at all. The accident that destroyed their past never happened here, but neither did their love. He's a stranger in a world where his own memories mean nothing. Days turn into weeks as Li Yun tries to piece together the rules of this altered timeline. He becomes Jin Hao's quiet companion, helping him at his small art studio by the river. The moments they share are delicate, filled with laughter, hesitation, and a slow, aching familiarity that neither can explain. In one breathtaking scene, Jin Hao paints the stars while Li Yun watches. As Jin Hao mixes shades of gold and indigo, he hums a song Li Yun remembers from their old life, a song that should not exist here. "How do you know that melody?" Li Yun whispers. Jin Hao pauses, brush trembling slightly. "I don't know. It just came to me." The silence that follows is electric. It's as though time itself is holding its breath, waiting. But every miracle has its cost. As the hourglass's sands continue to shift, Li Yun begins to notice cracks in reality. People flicker. Shadows move on their own. Reflections show moments that haven't happened yet. And sometimes he hears whispers, his own voice, from another timeline warning him. You can't keep both. The past or the present, choose. In one heart-stopping sequence, Li Yun tries to confront his own reflection, only for it to shatter into an explosion of light. Out of the shards steps another version of himself, a Li Yun who never found Jin Hao, hardened and cold, determined to protect the integrity of time. The two versions clash in a storm of energy, hourglasses floating in the air, their sands merging and splitting like galaxies. The cinematography is pure visual poetry, mirrors breaking, time freezing mid-motion, every sound muted except the steady rhythmic fall of sand. Meanwhile, Jin Hao begins to sense that something isn't right. He dreams of places he's never been, sees flashes of memories that aren't his. Li Yun's face, laughter, tears, and the moment of the accident. In a hauntingly beautiful montage, Jin Hao sketches these visions, pages filled with constellations, equations, and Li Yun's eyes. The walls of his studio become a gallery of memories from another life. Then one day he finds the hourglass. When Jin Hao picks it up, time halts. The world turns grayscale except for him and Li Yun, standing frozen inches apart. Their eyes lock. "You remember," Li Yun breathes. Tears spill down Jin Hao's cheeks as the truth floods back in. Their love, the accident, the promise they made under the stars. "If time separates us, I'll find you, no matter how many lives it takes." The hourglass glows brighter than ever before, the sand rising like a storm. The world starts to collapse around them, as timelines fuse and shatter. "Don't let go," Li Yun says. "I won't," Jin Hao whispers. "Even if time breaks again." In the climax, the hourglass shatters completely, creating a breathtaking sequence where the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Every version of Li Yun and Jin Hao, from every possible reality, appears in flashes, laughing, crying, fighting, embracing. The stars swirl like an hourglass turned upside down. As the chaos reaches its peak, Li Yun realizes the truth. Saving Jin Hao means letting the timelines reset, even if it means losing his memories again. He cups Jin Hao's face, trembling. "If I forget you, promise me. Remind me with that song." Jin Hao nods, smiling through tears. "I'll find you again, no matter how long it takes." And with that, Li Yun turns the hourglass one last time. The sand stops. The light fades. When he wakes, he's back in the observatory. The city outside is quiet. The storm is gone. On his desk sits the hourglass, empty now. He rubs his temples, confused. There's a strange melody echoing in his mind, a song he doesn't remember learning. He steps outside, the morning sun washing over him. Across the street, a small art shop catches his eye. Inside, a young artist hums that same tune while sketching the sunrise. Li Yun freezes. Their eyes meet. For a heartbeat, time stands still. And then they smile. The hourglass isn't just a love story. It's an exploration of destiny, sacrifice, and the fragile beauty of moments that slip through time's fingers. Xiao Zhan's portrayal of Li Yun is hauntingly emotional. His quiet intensity and aching vulnerability make every scene pulse with raw feeling. Wang Yibo's Jin Hao, by contrast, is luminous and grounded. His every smile carrying a shadow of something eternal. Together they create magic, an alchemy of longing and fate that transcends the screen. Every frame is crafted like a painting, rain glistening on glass, sand swirling through beams of light, whispers of clocks ticking backward. It's a cinematic masterpiece that reminds us that time doesn't erase love. It only hides it until the heart is ready to remember again. The storm outside the observatory had not calmed. Lightning streaked across the sky, slicing through clouds like cracks in reality. Inside, Li Yun, played by Xiao Zhan, stood before the hourglass, breath trembling. The grains of golden sand inside it had started moving backward, defying logic, pulling him toward a destiny he wasn't ready to face. The air shimmered with an otherworldly hum. Every clock in the room began to tick in reverse. His reflection in the glass dome wavered, his face splitting into fragments of his past self. For years Li Yun had studied time, its patterns, its science, its cruel symmetry. But tonight time was no longer theory. It was alive. He reached out. His fingertips brushed the glowing glass of the hourglass, and instantly the world collapsed into silence. For a moment there was nothing. No sound, no breath, no heartbeat. Then suddenly he was falling. The observatory dissolved into a swirl of light and shadow. Every memory of Jin Hao, the laughter, the promises, the final scream before the accident, rushed through him like shards of broken glass. He hit the ground hard. When he opened his eyes, the storm was gone. The city below was calm, bathed in the golden haze of dusk. But it wasn't his city. The streets were older, quieter. The air smelled of rain and jasmine, not smog and dust. And then he saw him. Jin Hao, played by Wang Yibo, stood at the edge of a bridge, sketchbook in hand, sunlight glinting off his hair. The river below shimmered like melted glass. Each brushstroke on his paper was delicate, precise, capturing moments as if he were painting time itself. Li Yun froze. The world tilted. It was him. The same smile. The same warmth. But when Jin Hao turned, their eyes met, and there was no recognition. Li Yun took a step forward, the air thick with disbelief. "Jin Hao," he whispered. Jin Hao blinked. "Do I know you?" That voice, it hit him like lightning. The same softness that once whispered, "I'll wait for you," now wrapped in confusion. Li Yun's throat closed up. The words he wanted to say tangled in pain. He couldn't tell him, not yet. Time was watching. Days passed. Li Yun followed Jin Hao through the city like a ghost chasing his past. He discovered that Jin Hao was an artist struggling to capture the feeling of a memory he never lived. His paintings were filled with stars, broken clocks, and shadows that looked eerily like Li Yun himself. One evening, as the sunset bled across the river, Li Yun finally spoke to him again. "That painting, it's beautiful," he said softly, staring at the unfinished canvas. Jin Hao smiled. "It's strange. I keep dreaming of this face, but every time I try to paint it, it fades." Li Yun's chest ached. "Maybe it's someone you lost. Or someone I meant to find," Jin Hao murmured, eyes glimmering. The silence that followed was electric, heavy with unspoken memories. The next night something strange happened. Jin Hao was painting the night sky when his brush stopped mid-stroke. He turned toward Li Yun with a distant look. "I saw you somewhere before," he said. "In the rain. You were calling my name." Li Yun froze. His pulse thundered. "What else do you remember?" Jin Hao's hand trembled. "You were holding something. A glass hourglass. It shattered." The room fell silent. The ticking of a nearby clock grew louder. Tick-tock, and then suddenly stopped. Every drop of paint in the jars lifted into the air, floating weightlessly. The candles flickered, their flames stretching toward the ceiling. "Jin Hao," Li Yun whispered, stepping closer. "You're remembering." A gust of wind blew through the open window, scattering sketches across the floor, each one showing the same image, Li Yun's face. And then Jin Hao collapsed. Li Yun caught him, heart racing. The moment their hands touched, the hourglass appeared between them, glowing fiercely. The sand swirled upward this time, defying gravity. Visions flooded Jin Hao's mind. Their first kiss under the stars, the accident, Li Yun's desperate cry as time ripped them apart. He gasped for breath. "I remember now," he whispered weakly. "I remember everything." Tears streamed down Li Yun's face. "You found me again." But before he could hold him, the air cracked like glass. The hourglass pulsed violently, and both men were thrown backward. Reality itself was tearing apart. We shift to a surreal, heart-stopping scene. Time had frozen mid-motion. Raindrops hung suspended in the air. People in the streets stood motionless. The world was caught between seconds. Li Yun and Jin Hao stood alone inside the fracture, surrounded by floating shards of memories, snapshots from their past lives shimmering in the air. One showed them laughing in a park, another crying in the rain, and one was the accident that started it all. Li Yun reached for Jin Hao's hand. "We can fix this," he said, voice trembling. But Jin Hao shook his head. "If we fix time, we'll lose this moment." The hourglass floated between them, spinning faster and faster, its light growing blinding. "Choose," a whisper echoed through the void. "The past or the present?" Li Yun looked at Jin Hao, eyes filled with love and fear. "I can't lose you again." "Then don't," Jin Hao whispered. "Hold on to now." The hourglass shattered. Golden sand burst outward like stardust, wrapping around them. The world dissolved, transforming into a sea of light. Their hands intertwined as they fell through endless skies, their laughter echoing across time. The scene cuts abruptly. Li Yun gasps awake back in his observatory. The hourglass sits on his desk, still glowing faintly. He looks around, everything feels familiar yet different. He glances outside. Across the street, through the misty glass of a cafe window, sits Jin Hao, painting the sunrise, humming that same haunting melody from their past life. Li Yun smiles, tears filling his eyes. He walks toward him, the faint sound of sand shifting inside the hourglass following him like a heartbeat. And that's how the hourglass captures its audience. Not with just a love story, but a collision of time, memory, and destiny. Xiao Zhan's performance as Li Yun is pure emotional gravity. Every gesture radiates yearning and restraint. Wang Yibo's Jin Hao glows with quiet depth. His innocence pierced by flickers of something eternal. Their connection transcends space and time. It's not just about lost love. It's about the kind of love that rewrites reality itself. When the hourglass stops, the question remains. Did Li Yun really change time? Or did time change for love? Sparkles, thank you for watching. If this story moved your heart, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more emotional, mind-blowing stories starring Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo. Your support keeps the magic of storytelling alive. One heartbeat, one grain of sand at a time. Hourglass and done dizzy.